If you are interested in home education and learning more about getting started, the laws involved, and how to get registered, we are here to help you, and you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Dr. Roger Smith. I'm former president of the Homeschool Louisiana. We are a nonprofit organization with the mission of helping families be successful in home education. And so after 30 years of home educating, I've learned a lot, and there's a lot to learn, but quite often getting started is quite scary and uncertain. And so there are some simple things to know, and there are some tools that I'll share with you today to help you know what to do to get started, and also some ideas about just trying out home education. Now, you may be in a situation where your school is out of term for some reason. Maybe it's an extended holiday, maybe it's the summer, or there may be a pandemic that has caused the schools to close, or an epidemic of some sort. And in my personal case, in 1973, I was in the 8th grade. My school let out in February because of a flood. So it may be a natural disaster or something, some other incident. Maybe the school burned or something that has allowed the school to be out of term. And that's a perfect time to actually try seeing if home education is a good fit for you. So before I share some of the details, I want to share some of the ideas and whys of home education. There's no doubt that there have been many families that have been successful with home education over the last 30 years. There's a continually increasing number of people that are choosing to home educate. And it's estimated that now it's between 2, maybe a little over 3 million students across the United States that are being home educated. And the results have shown that they have been as successful and even more successful than the average student in public education. And so whatever your reason for considering home education, just know that many people are doing it, and it works. Not only does it work educationally, but it also works relationally. So we see that students are being socialized by their interaction in their family and their home, and interaction with other homeschool students. And it doesn't, there's no limit to who the associates are. That's something that's the family choice. And so children have been shown to become socially adept even while being home educated. So that was one of the initial fears, and that has just not been shown to be the case. So your child and your family can be successful with home education. The other thing I would say is do not try to reproduce what the school does from an institutional approach. Don't try to reproduce that at home. Home education looks different, feels different, and so our tendency is to try to reproduce a school at home. And in reality, most of learning in life occurs outside of a formal classroom, where there is a rigid approach to everything. And there are reasons for that in an institutional setting. And those reasons are good for that setting, but trying to reproduce that at home is a misfit. It's a poor fit. And so try to avoid reproducing the style of education that schools have if you're going to try a home education. And so our organization has a website. It's called homeschoollouisiana.org, and there you can find some resources. And I'm going to go over the laws of how to register your student, and what are some resources to help you in that process of choosing to register. Now, if you're on an extended school recess, and you're wanting to try out home education, and school is not in session, there is no imperative for you to immediately register with the state, because the laws come into effect when school is in session. And so currently, at the time of this filming, we're in the COVID-19 pandemic, and the schools are out of session. And so it's a perfect time for people to give home education a try without making the full commitment and going through all the steps of withdrawing from school. But I am going to show you how simple it is to register or to file your notice of intent to home educate and to withdraw your child from school. So on our website, if you go to, if you just scroll down, there's a section that says, how do I get started in homeschooling? And there's a link to this page. In fact, I need to go back and show you that. Our home page looks like this. And you may see a picture of this is the legislature in this picture. We do some legislative work helping to prevent laws that would restrict the freedom to home educate. But what you would be interested in is down here, and it says, how do I start homeschooling? And there's one link that says, click here for more information, and that will take you to a page that has a picture right here, an infographic that has some links on it to ways to register and a form that you will need. And I'm going to show it to you in a print form right here up close. And so this is not intended to give all the details of all the laws, but the ones that you really need to know simply to get started. So there are two ways to register as a home educator in the state of Louisiana, and that oftentimes creates some confusion. And first, let me say that both ways of registering are acceptable and they are good. One, each has their benefits, and don't feel the pressure that you've got to make the right choice right now, because you can change from one to the other if it shows to be over time not to be the proper fit for you. So on our infographic, the first block up here says to decide to home educate, or even to just decide to try it if you're on an extended school holiday, and then to choose one option or the other. And you can see that there are two arrows that point to one of two options, the green boxes here that are titled State Approved Home Study. That's the title of one way to register with the state. The other is titled Non-Public School, Not Seeking State Approval. And in parentheses, it says private school option. Now, those are our terms. Private school option is an easier way of saying that it's not a public school, and you're not asking the state to approve your school and your program and your curriculum. And so the terminology often confuses people. We just say if you're doing this option, your home is a private school. And so the advantage to that is that the students' names do not have to be submitted. They're just their ages and how many students there are, and you have to name your school just like every other school has a name. Whereas if you register this direction of the state approved home study, each child is registered or his name is submitted to the State Board of Education, and so the Department of Education. And so if your child has been in a public school already, they have the information on your child, and so there's no fear on this side, because some people want the privacy offered by the private school option so that the names of the children are not submitted, but they already have your child's names if you've been in a public school. So on a day-to-day basis, these two schools look exactly the same. This is just a difference in the paperwork. And again, choosing one option versus the other, it can be changed if you need to, or you choose to down the road. So, and each of these boxes have a link to the form that is to be completed, and it's an online filing of these forms to the Department of Education. So it's very simple. In the online tool, there are links on this infographic that you can just click on them and it will take you through the steps of filling them out. Now, once you choose which style of registration or filing that you're going to do, then there is a step to withdraw your child from a school. If your child has never been to a school, obviously you skip this step. But if your child has been in a public or a private school, it's not required to do this for the private school, but we do recommend it just because it's of a courtesy to the school. There's a link to a form that helps you to fill out the necessary information. You fill in the boxes on it and can print it out, and then it says send it to the last school attended by your child. And so it goes to the school, to the principal, and they withdraw the student. So you do not have to go to the school. In fact, we recommend not going, but sending the letter, because oftentimes schools in the withdrawing process will do things out of good purpose and good intention, but it frightens people that are not familiar with the process. And so if you're committed to home education, we recommend do the withdrawal letter, send it to the school, and that's all that is required for you to withdraw. And so the laws are very good in the state of Louisiana. The one question I forgot to mention is, what are the differences of these besides the revealing of the children's names to the Department of Education? There is one difference, and that has to do with the renewal for the following year. And on the approved home study, there is a process that they will require some evidence that they have been educated. And typically what's done is that a child will take a standardized test, and the standardized test results are sent in with your reapplication or renewal for the following year. Homeschool support groups around the state offer testing days for their members, and that's a great way of being able to provide some type of standardized assessment of your student. There are other ways of doing it, submitting course material or having a certified teacher evaluate their progress and testify in a letter on their behalf. The easiest way and the way that most people are most comfortable is to have a standardized test performed. So there is one step at the end of the approved home study that is in addition to that, to the private school option. So that is why a lot of people choose the private school option in the early years. This one is preferred in the high school years for other reasons I'll not go into right now, but there are these two options of filing as a home educator with the Department of Education. So the exciting thing is that families find that in general their relationships with their children improve when they educate at home, and they're having more time together and they're learning together. And creating an environment where children don't feel the pressure to learn, but they have the freedom to learn. And oftentimes whenever there's less concern about measuring what one learns, people learn more. We've all asked in our school years, when the teacher says something, we want to know the number one question: is this on the test? And we're all worried about the test and not worried about the learning. And sometimes taking the pressure off of performing on a test, measuring what they know, and particularly maybe even measuring it in a way that is their weakness. We give a written test and someone's not good at writing or not good at reading, or certainly not good at reading under a time constraint, they perform poorly and they feel poor about themselves. And there's no doubt that when a child feels poorly about themselves, they learn less. We learn more when we feel good about ourselves. and we feel that we're okay. So home education gives you that opportunity to know your student, know them well, and to learn what their strengths and their way of learning is, and to accommodate that in how material is presented to them. That's something that the schools have a hard time doing because they have a 30, 20, or 30 students in a classroom, and they cannot individualize it for your student, but you can. And that's why home education works, is that there's the freedom to accommodate a child's way of learning, not just talking about their weaknesses, but their strength and their way of learning. And you will learn a whole lot about the way children learn if you become a home educator, and I encourage you to do that. It was a game changer for our family. We grew together closely, and our children are still close. They're in their late 20s and 30s, and they're friends. And we worked hard at being friends, and that's something that you can do when you have time together. And you take the pressure off of performing on a test, and you put the emphasis on learning to get along and to relate to one another and to relate to their community. And that's an opportunity that it's hard to accomplish whenever 8 hours of their day they're gone. But now they're home, and you can do a lot of things that create opportunities for them. So it's not about just secluding them from the world or the world's influence. Yes, there needs to be some protection from harmful influences, but it's great opportunities to make a difference in their lives. And we're excited that you're looking at the opportunities that home education affords. Homeschool Louisiana is here to help you, and the mission of our organization is to help people be successful in the whole process, whether it's from elementary through high school and all the issues in between, and to help you find resources to meet your needs. There's no doubt that our organization will not be able to meet all the needs of home educators, but we can help you find the resources to those who can, and people that are specialists in different areas. And local support groups in your town are important for your sanity and for your success. And we want to connect you with a local homeschool support group as we work on statewide issues. This is Dr. Roger Smith on behalf of Homeschool Louisiana. We hope you will join us in the journey of home education.